I'm starting the 3-day process of making white sourdough, and the first thing you always do is you feed your barm or culture and in advance so that it's nice and lively when you want to use it. So I'm putting 10 grams of barm into the bowl. I'm putting 15 grams of wholemeal and 35 of white and 50 grams of water, and then all you do is you mix it to a paste. It makes like a stiff paste, and then you leave it for 12 hours at ambient. And ambient for me is 26 degrees, because in Dominica it's hot, but if you're in the UK or America, you'll need to find a warm place. So this is stage 2 of making the white sourdough. So the barm has been rising overnight and is lovely and bubbly and really lively. And so now the next job is to make the liver. So I have put 25 grams of barm into the bowl. Then we're adding 25 grams of white flour, 25 grams of wholemeal flour, and 50 grams of water, and then you do just like you did with the barm. You just mix it to a smooth paste and you leave it for 5 hours at ambient at 26 degrees. So the next part of the white sourdough is while we're waiting for the levain to mature, which takes 5 hours, we autolize the flour and we make the tanzong. Tanzong is you basically take 10% of the flour out of the recipe and you pour on boiling water, which gelatinizes the starch and makes for a much more moist loaf. So I'm going to make the tanzong now. I've got the flour in the bowl and I'm going to add a given amount of water, which is 180 grams in my case. That's boiling water, and you just mix it like a porridge. So I'm now making I'm autolyzing the flour, which basically it's all the flour from the recipe with the water from the recipe. You just mix it until it's smooth and you can't see flour anymore, and then you leave that for 2 hours. And autolyzing is a method invented by Professor Clavel in France about 50 years ago, and it basically allows the gluten in the flour to absorb the water while it's resting, and it means you don't have, when it comes to the final mixing, you don't have to mix quite so much, and it gives better oven spring too. So all sorts of benefits, and all artisan bread recipes you'll see the word autolyzing. So it's nothing scary, it's just what I'm doing now, and I've autolyzed. I mean, there it is. It's just, I can't see flour anymore, and it's just going to sit now. So this is part 5 of the white sourdough. So on the table here, what I've got is the autolyzed dough with the levain, which has been rising for 5 hours, and the levain has been resting for 2 hours. So we're now going to mix this. This bread has 2 mixing, one with the salt and one without the salt. So the first mixing is without the salt and the tanzong. So we just, so you just push the dough in front of you and then pick it up again, pick it up and then turn it over, pick it up, and you just keep working it like this for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to leave it for half an hour and make the dough with the salt. So this is part 6 of the white sourdough. So it's been resting 30 minutes since the first mixing. I'm now going to add the salt and the tanzong, which is the part of the flour which was soaked in boiling water for 2 hours. And the salt goes on, and we do exactly the same as before. We mix for about 10 minutes until it's perfectly well mixed. and then it's going to be left to rise for 5 hours, and during those 5 hours it's going to have what's called turns, where you will manipulate the dough. And the next part will be, next part of this show will be showing how the turns work. In the meantime, I'm going to mix this for the second time. Gradually mix in all the sangzong and the salt, and then it'll get left for half an hour and it'll have its first turn. So this is number 7 of the white sourdough. It's been resting half an hour since it was mixed, and it's going to have its first turn. It's going to have 6 turns in total, 3 at 15-minute intervals and 3 at 30-minute intervals. And then it's going to be left. So the total time from when you finish mixing to when you mould it and put it into the banneton is approximately 5 hours. So this is the first turn. Dip your hands into water to stop it sticking, your hands sticking, because the dough is very sticky. So you lift it up by the middle, pick it up and let it drop. Turn it around 90 degrees, same again. Turn it around 90 degrees, and so on. And you do that 3 or 4 times. Okay, that's it. That's one turn. In 15 minutes it'll have another turn, and so on. So the dough has now been resting. It's now ready to go. It's been resting since 2 o'clock with its various turns. The bannetons, you need to dust it with rice flour because it doesn't absorb moisture and it stops the bread from sticking. Particularly this dough, which is very, very wet, very high hydration. So I'm going to put this now into the bannetons. Going to mold it, so you turn it on the spot, there we go, into the banneton. Flour it, and this is now going covered into the fridge overnight. Okay, this is part 8 of the white sourdough bread. So the bread has been rising overnight in the fridge at 3 degrees, and it's now going in the oven. The Dutch oven has been heating up for the last half an hour, and this is now red hot. Taking the lid off, and I'm going to just put a bit of flour on top of the bread. I'm going to take it out of the banneton, put it in to the Dutch oven, give it a cut. There we go. Lid on and into the oven. This is part 9 of the white sourdough. So the bread has been in the Dutch oven for 45 minutes in total. It had 25 minutes with the lid on and 25 minutes with the lid off. And I just put the lid back on just for show, because then I can reveal all. But so here is the bread, and it's looking beautiful. Look at that. Very hot. There we go. Lovely cut on the surface. Lovely and crisp. Now putting the second loaf in the oven, I tend to do 2 at a time, and I keep one out and I freeze the other one because it freezes very well. So I've just taken it out of the plastic bag. It's been 12 hours at 3 degrees centigrade, rising very, very slowly in the fridge. And I'm just going to put a bit of flour on the top to stop it sticking to my hands when I take it out, and put it into the Dutch oven. And the Dutch oven, I put that momentarily for about 10 minutes back in the oven between the last bake. It's red hot again. Taking the lid off, and I'm now going to put it into the oven onto my hand. There we go. Beautiful. Just going to put a flour on the top so that the knife doesn't stick. So this is the second loaf. It's just come out of the oven. I'm just going to, it looks beautiful. Oh yeah. Look at that. Yeah, really crisp and lovely. So yeah, I'm really pleased. Two loaves, both 100% sourdough. All that's in there is flour, salt and water and my culture, and made with a tangzhong. And the one I made earlier, I'm going to cut it now to see what the structure of the crumb is like. This is always the very exciting part. So it's cooled down now, not completely, but it's cooled down enough. And look at that. Look at those holes. This is just what I'm looking for. This is a quick tutorial on folds. So from the moment you finish mixing your sourdough to when you actually mould it, you should leave it for approximately 5 hours. Some people leave it even longer, but certainly no less than 5 hours at ambient, which for me is 26 degrees. And during that 5 hours, you give it a series of turns, anywhere from 3 to 6 turns. And there are two types of turns that I use. One is stretch and fold and one is a coil turn. I'm going to show you a stretch and fold. So this dough has already had one turn, so it's having its second turn now. A little bit of flour on the table, but not too much. So you stretch it into a large rectangle, right, the end to the middle and the other end all the way over. Turn it around 90 degrees, same again, to the middle and then all the way over. And that is a stretch and fold, and that's going to wait another 45 minutes before the next turn.